investor here for a little over 3 years.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Leveling Up Book Club. I'm really excited about this month's book of the month, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This book may look a little different than yours because I have the 30-year anniversary, which they added a little bit of info, but millions and millions of copies of this book have been sold, and a lot of lives have been changed. I'm really excited. I believe, Paul, I think you suggested this book for us, so thanks again for that. And thanks everybody for being here. Again, this is the Leveling Up Book Club where we read amazing books. And not only do we read these books as a group, but we implement them into our businesses. This group is for small business and large business, really entrepreneurs in general. If you want to grow, you're an entrepreneur, this is the group for you. So we will get started here in just a second. Big thanks to Maya for setting everything up, and big thanks to everybody for showing up. Looks like we got Kelly, Pat, Angel, Andy, and Michael and Paul in the house. Thanks for showing up, guys. So we are live in the book club group. If you're seeing this in the book club group right now, join the Zoom because this is interactive. I want to discuss this book with you guys. I don't want to read a slideshow. That's boring. So we're going to be highly interactive, and especially for this one. So I got the personal workbook to go along with the book. And so I'm going to have us do a few of the exercises within to elaborate on these lessons. And again, so we can implement into the business. There's no point in just reading it and not doing anything. We want to read it, implement, and become highly effective people. So let's get started. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Leveling Up Book Club. I'm Cashflow Chris. This is where we read amazing books like Profit First, Building a Story Brand, Never Split the Difference, Dynamic Delegation. A few reminders, book club is every Friday, 10 a.m. Please have a copy of the book so we can discuss. Everything is always going to be live on Zoom. We typically will post it on the Facebook group, but it's going to be live on Zoom. I want you guys to be on the call with me. Thoughts and insights are encouraged. Show up, do the work, read the book. There's no point in doing this if you're not going to read the book. No distractions. When you're here, please stay here and keep an open mind. So our book of the month is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. An overview. This book puts forward a principle-centered approach to both personal and interpersonal effectiveness. The 7 habits in this book will help you move from a state of dependence to independence and finally to interdependence. Interdependence is a more mature, advanced concept. It precludes the knowledge that you are an independent being, but that working with others will produce greater results than working on your own. So the first part, so our assignment for this week was to read the first 2 parts. Part 1 was pretty small. Part 2 was pretty lengthy. So hopefully you guys got through it. It was a tough one. Part 1, paradigms and principles. This is where you need to literally look at things from a different perspective. So Covey says that most people look for quick fixes. They see a big success and they want to know how he did it, believing and hoping they can do the same, following a quick bullet list. What is the real change? It comes not from the outside in, but from the inside out. And the most fundamental part of changing yourself is through a paradigm shift, which is a new way of looking at the world. Inside out means to start with the self, even more fundamentally, to start with the most inside part of yourself, with your paradigms, your character, and your motives. I'll pull out my book and see if we have any notes on this. Paradigms are powerful because they create the lens through which we see the world. The power of paradigm shift is essential power of quantum change, whether that shift is an instantaneous or a slow and deliberate process. So you may just change it overnight, or it may take a little bit of time. Did everybody do the test in the book with the picture? Let's do that real quick. All right. So there's different ways of looking at things. So they did a test and they showed half the people this picture. Okay. So everybody look at that picture. You know, what do you see? You know, just say to yourself, what do you see? Okay. And then I want you to take a look at this picture. What do you see? Tell me out loud. What do you see?
Young woman.
How old is she approximately?
30-ish.
30-ish? Okay. What else do you see? What is she wearing?
Her clothes. With a hat.
She's wearing a hat. Okay.
Sort of puffy scarf.
Yeah, all right. You got a scarf here. You got your feather in her hat right there, right? So everybody can see that, right?
Yeah.
Can you see the old lady?
I see the
Does
old
anybody
lady.
see an old lady?
No. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay, hold on. So you didn't see an old lady.
Nope.
Now I want you to look at this picture. Okay? Look at that. Put that into your brain. Now, what do you see?
The old lady.
You see the old lady? Who does anybody not see the old lady? Angel doesn't see it yet. So here's her nose. Here's her mouth. She's looking down. Again, she's kind of, this is like her shirt or whatever. And this is like a shawl that goes over her head. You see it now, Angel? Okay. So that's paradigm, right? That's a paradigm shift. When we see the world, in a certain way, and we look at the world, we see what we see. We don't see something else. So this may have been an old lady the whole time. This may have been a picture that the person who drew this may have not have drawn a young person, but that's what our brain saw. And so that's what was reality. When you saw this picture, the reality was that it was a young woman. And so I love that aspect of it. So a few other things on paradigm shift. A great story about their kid, about how they were trying to make their kid something that they thought that he should be instead of who he actually was. The power of paradigm. So these habits are basic, they are primary. They represent the internalization of the correct principles which enduring happiness and success are based. That's why we see the world, not in terms of our visual sense of sight, but in terms of perceiving, understanding, and interpreting. Think about how you see the world. Think about how does a rich kid, a kid who's grows up in a mansion, how do they see the world compared to somebody who was raised in poverty? It's the same world, but it's perceived differently, correct? A simple way to understand paradigms is to see them as maps. We all know that a map is not the territory. A map is simply an explanation of certain aspects of the territory, right? A map just shows you what it is. That's exactly what a paradigm is. It is a theory, an explanation, or a model of something else. They talked about, suppose you wanted to arrive at a specific location in central Chicago. A street map of the city would be great to help you in reaching your destination, but suppose you were given the wrong map. What if they gave you a map of Detroit? Can you imagine the frustration, the ineffectiveness of trying to reach your destination, right? It's not about your behavior. You could make all the right turns, right? You might work on your behavior. You could try harder, be more diligent, double your speed, right? You're going even faster, but your efforts would only succeed in getting you to the wrong place faster. You might work on your attitude. You could think more, you'd still be lost. The fundamental problem has nothing to do with your behavior or your attitude. It has everything to do with having the wrong map. So first we have to have the right map before we can work on everything else. These paradigms are the source of our attitudes and behaviors. We cannot act with integrity outside of them. We simply cannot maintain wholesale or wholeness if we talk and walk differently than what we see. Okay. All right, we talked about that. All right, so let's go over. You guys hear me now?
Yeah, over here.
Thank you.
All right, Maya, you're gonna need to do the slideshow. So Maya, why don't you screen share, or when I'll tell you when to screen share, and we'll just do it that way.
All right. Chris, can you share your workbook again?
What's that?
Can you share your workbook again?
Can I share my workbook? This one?
Yeah,
There you are.
Okay.
we're gonna order it.
Good. Yeah, no, it's really good so far. All right.
Yeah, we had a side chat while you were away.
You had what?
We had a
had
side chat. We were just talking about the book and the journal.
Awesome. Okay. So go ahead and screen share, Maya, and I'll move forward with the habits overview.
Can you see it?
Yep. Go down to 7 habits and overview. All right, so for our purposes, we will define a habit as the intersection of knowledge, skill, and desire. So the knowledge is a theoretical paradigm of what we do and the why. The skill is how we do it. Desire is the motivation and the want to do it. The maturity continuum. Dependence, the paradigm of you and you take care of you. So you take care of me, I blame you for the results. Independence is the paradigm of I can do it, I'm responsible, I am self-reliant. And then interdependence is where we all work together. It's a we can do it, we can combine our talents and create something greater. The first 3 habits, which we're going to be talking about today, indeed deal with yourself, because it all starts with you. Move from dependence from the world to the interdependence of making your own world. And then next week, we're going to be talking habits 4, 5, 6. It's all about people and relationships. Move you from dependence in the world to the independence of making your own world. And then last week, we're going to really dive in and go over habit 7, which is focusing on continuous growth and improvement. Okay. Of course, now I'm going to have a bunch of phone calls now that I've moved to my phone. All right, go. You can hop out of that real quick. And let's move into, actually, sorry. Move into habit 1. Let's go through the slideshow first, and then we'll work on the workbook. All right, habit 1, be proactive. We're in charge. We choose the script by which we live our lives. Use this self-awareness to be proactive and take responsibility for your choices. Being reactive people take a passive stance. They believe the world is happening to them. They say things like, there's nothing I can do. That's just the way I am. They think the problem is out there, but that thought is the problem. Reactivity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and reactive people feel increasingly victimized and out of control. Guys, has this ever been more true than right now during this pandemic? Like, it's just, people feel like they have absolutely no control. How many people are going to say that 2020 was the worst year of their lives?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you talked about that in the last book too, the perspective of somebody, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
The restaurant example.
Mm-hmm. Great, you know. This can be a great year, or it could be a horrible year. It's all how we.
I feel like 90% of people that I know are like, this is the worst year ever. Especially if you go online and read people's Facebook or Instagram, it's just complain. It's frustrating. It's ridiculous too. I mean, they have control over their thoughts, and they just let fear run them, and it's insane.
So when all this happened, I'm telling you guys, we collectively as people on Facebook deserve what we get. I don't know if you guys remember, but at the end of last year, so many people, dozens and dozens of people were talking about good riddance 2019, 2019 sucked. I can't wait for 2020. Guys, come on, 2019 was awesome. What was wrong with 2019? People just complain. They complain about 2018, 2017, and 2016. People complain. It's how they deal with things. So we don't want to be those people. Let's see. Go ahead to the next slide real quick. Being proactive. So proactive people, which is this group, we recognize we have a responsibility or response ability, which Covey defines as the ability to choose how you will respond to a given stimulus or situation. Key lessons: challenging yourself to test the principle of productivity by doing the following. Replacing reactive language with proactive language. Reactive: he makes me so mad. Proactive: I control my own feelings. And then secondly, convert reactive tasks into proactive ones. Okay, you can hop out of that real quick. Now, okay, developing proactivity. Between stimulus and response, you have the freedom to choose. Oh, by the way, get out a pen and paper. This is your greatest power. One of the most important things you choose is what you say. Your language is a good indicator of how you see yourself. A proactive person uses proactive language. I can, I will, I prefer. A reactive person uses reactive language. I can't, I must, if only. Reactive people believe they are not responsible for what they say and have no choice. Think of 2 or 3 situations in your personal life in the past 3 weeks you have responded in a reactive way. 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Or just, you don't have to write it down, just think about it. When you have one, tell me about it. So I'll go with one. I've been doing a one meal a day intermittent fasting diet, which is great. Like, I love it. I rarely get hungry in the morning, and I usually don't get hungry till 3 or 4. And so it's just something I thought I would try. And the other day I came home and my wife asked me what I had for lunch. I told her I didn't eat, and I'm just like, I'm starving. I'm starving, right? I was all dramatic about it. Oh my God, I'm starving. What do we have to eat? And then I just took a step back. I'm like, actually, I'm not starving. I don't know why I said that. I was completely reactive to what I thought was my situation. My brain's like, you haven't eaten today, you're starving. But in reality, I wasn't. I choose that, right? Anybody else have an example?
How about when driving, man? I mean, driving always seems like a test. Trying to get better at that. That 10 seconds, is it really worth, chewing somebody out if they cut you off or whatever?
Great point. Have you ever cut somebody off on accident? Right? I think we all have. We've all made bonehead mistakes when driving sometimes. So yeah, just instead of reacting, just chill. 10 seconds and it's gone. It's done. Some people choose to have a pissed off day. They're going to be mad all day long because that guy cut them off this morning. Can't believe people. Right? Well, and how many times could it possibly actually be our fault? Are we driving a little bit too aggressively? And then maybe that's why it happens. So good one. Who else has one where you were reactive? What's the situation that you reacted to instead of being proactive? Paul, you're laughing. I know you got one.
I don't know if you want me to share that one time when you were driving. You were a little reactive.
Oh, I'm sure.
Back.
I lose my shit sometimes, that's for sure. Anybody else got an example? Okay. Now think of some proactive responses you might have used in the same situation. So if you don't want to talk about it, write it down. Think about the situation you ran across and how might have you have responded differently. Me, instead of getting cut off. Help it cut back a little bit. Chill out. Anybody have any examples of that, or do we want to move forward? In the book, they talk about the master checklist, which is all the letters stand for something. Measure the importance, assess your initial reaction, see the stimulus response model, think about a proactive response, engage or exit, review your performance. Every one of us should probably do this before we post on Facebook or before we put a snide comment out there, right? Think about it. I've erased a lot of comments in the last few months. All right, how large is your circle? So the problems, challenges, and opportunities we face fall into two areas, a circle of concern and a circle of influence. What do you guys think that means?
What we can control, what we can't control.
Exactly. During this week, write down the various challenges and problems that you face. Which areas does it fall within? What is your immediate response? That's something to be aware of. Here's your circle right there. All right, next. All right, we're gonna get into this one just a little bit, guys. Okay, this is on taking initiative. Have you ever put the skids on an ant? It is virtually impossible. They never stop. Put one to the test today. Pretend you're 5 years old again and make a little hill in an ant's path. The ant will walk up and over the top without breaking. It will go into a hole over a log through grass. If it can't go through, it'll go around. An ant will never turn around and walk the other way, no matter what obstacles in its path. Try applying that tenacity to your life. Of course, if you want to use your brain, you'll want to use your brain too. But in the determination department, be an ant. Refuse to be stopped. Keep going. Make proactive choices and learn as you go. People who patiently persist finally see their dreams come true. So, I want you to tell me, guys, got courage. If you could develop a new talent, what would it be? If you could develop a new talent, what would it be? We just got a piano. I would love to know. My wife's always wanted to know the piano. You know, she took it as a kid, and so now she wants to master it. How about you guys? If you could develop a new talent, what would it be?
Public speaking.
Public speaking. Perfect. What else?
I would like the guitar, learn guitar.
Play the guitar.
Speed reading.
Speed reading. All right. What else?
I think for me, it'd probably be to learn another language.
What language?
I don't know. I haven't quite figured that out yet. I mean, I know Spanish already. I don't know, probably Vietnamese, because it's a pretty large Vietnamese population where I live.
Beautiful. What else? Come on, guys. If you could develop a new talent, what would it be? All right, let's move forward. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be? This one should be easy.
New Zealand.
New Zealand. I was in Costa Rica, and we were on a bus with a guy from New Zealand. He said Costa Rica is almost as beautiful as New Zealand. So I'm like, okay, I guess I need to go to New Zealand. What else? Where do you guys want to travel to?
Japan.
Japan, yes. There is a forest. What is it called? It's a what is it called? The long poles, the reeds.
Bamboo.
Yeah, there's an amazing bamboo forest in China. I want to go to the bamboo forest in China. It seems amazing. It just looks beautiful. You guys ever get the screensaver on your computer and it always has a different place?
Yeah.
You ever Google that? Almost
Yeah,
all of
I love
those.
those, man.
Yeah.
Those are cool.
Throw it on your Google Maps. Mark, want to go. You know? Where else? Come on, you guys want to travel? Paul, where do you want to go? Where do you want to travel? Anywhere in the world.
Mars.
More in the world. But hey, if you want to go to the moon, the Russians can help with that. All right, next, if you could change one thing about your life, what would it be? My eating habits. My exercise habits.
My addiction to pizza.
Your addiction to pizza. Now,
Start
is that
real estate.
reactive? Is that a reactive, right? Or is that proactive?
Start real estate sooner.
Yep. Okay, but if you can't,
I've been working
if you can't
on-
go back in time, if you can't go back in time, what would you change about what the next 5 years?
Go bigger.
Bigger action.
Take more massive action. Yep.
What else? Anybody else? If you could change one thing about your life, what would it be?
Probably get rid of any difficult distractions.
Okay, very good. So what's stopping you from doing all these things? You have the choice, don't you? What would it be like if you lived your life as a work of art in progress? If each breath and each action were part of an unfolding masterpiece, if you saw the shadows and light areas as part of the composition, accepted it all, found joy in the beauty of it. What are your choices? Where are your choices taking you? What you make of your life is up to you. Every person creates his or her own reality. Authorship of your life is one of your absolute rights. Often people deny they have the ability to script their life if they desire. They look at the past they look past the fundamental truth that it is not our external resources that determine our success or failure, but rather our own beliefs in ourselves and our willingness to create a life according to our highest aspirations. Our mentor, Jeff Hagan, always talks about that. It's a movie. You're the star. Write the script. You know, how do you want this movie to end? What do you want to happen in this movie? Write your own script. So over the next week, I want you guys to record the plan for implementing ways to make your answers to the following questions. So where do you want to go? How do you want to change your life? And if you could develop a new talent, write a plan. How are you going to do that? How are you going to learn Japanese? How are you going to learn, actually Vietnamese is what he said. How are we going to do all these things? How is Paul going to break his addiction to pizza? Oh, we weren't recording. Uh-oh. All right, next, let's go on to habit 2. And while you're doing that, I'm going to get my charger. All right. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. So start with a clear destination in mind. We can use our imagination to develop a vision of what we want to become and use our conscience to decide what values will guide us. We work hard to achieve victories, promotions, higher income, more recognition, but we don't often stop to evaluate the meaning behind the busyness behind these victories. We don't ask ourselves if these things that we focus on so intently are what really matter to us. Habit 2 suggests, in everything we do, we should begin with the end in mind. Start with a clear destination. Beginning with the end in mind is extremely important for businesses. Being a manager is about optimizing for efficiency, but being a leader is about setting the right strategic vision for what your organization in the first place and asking, what are we trying to accomplish? Before we as individuals or organizations can start setting and achieving goals, we must be able to identify our values. This process may involve some re-scripting to be able to assert your own personal values. It is recognizing ineffective scripts that have been written for you and changing those scripts by proactively writing new ones that are built of your own values. Habit 2, let's see. It's also important to identify your center. Whatever is at the center of our lives will be the source of our security, guidance, wisdom, and power. Our centers affect us fundamentally. They determine our daily decisions, actions, and motivations, as well as our interpretation of events. So here's a few examples. You might be spouse-centered, family-centered, money-centered, work-centered, possession-centered, pleasure-centered, friend-centered. Key lessons. Challenge yourself to test the principle of the beginning with the end in mind by doing the following. Visualize in rich detail your own funeral. Who's there? What are they saying about you? About how you lived your life, about relationships you had. This is Gary Vee, right? Gary Vee talks a lot about this. You know, he wants a bunch of people at his funeral because he did such good. Break down the different roles in your life, whether professional, personal, or community. List the 3 to 5 goals you want to achieve for each of those roles. Define what scares you. Kelly, public speaking, critical feedback after writing a book. Write down the worst case scenario for your biggest fear, then visualize how you'll handle the situation. Write down exactly how you'll handle it. So Kelly, if you are doing a public speech and you completely bomb, what's the worst that's going to happen to you? Maybe you'll be booed off the stage. Who knows?
Don't forget. I've already had a failure of public speaking.
Okay. Time to practice. Toastmasters. That's what helped me. All right. Okay. You can stop screen share now. Let me decline that phone call. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. So checking your vision. It's time for a personal vision checkup. Take a minute and think about the question below. Write your thoughts in the space. Okay. What am I doing with my life? Does it make me happy? Do I feel fulfilled? Just think in general. What's your gut reaction to that? Are you happy? What are you doing in your life? Are you happy? Do you feel fulfilled? Yes or no? What do I keep gravitating towards? Is it different from what I am currently doing? What did I like to do as a child? Do those things still bring me satisfaction? Am I doing any of them? What interests me most right now? What interests you? What fills your soul?
Pizza.
No, that fills your gut. What can I do well? What are my unique traits and strengths? Okay, next. This is something that we want to work on. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I want you guys to work on it this week because this is big. This is part of the doing. Developing a personal mission statement. So step 1 is brainstorm some ideas. Write about each of the 3 topics below without stopping. This is free writing, so you're going to do this on yourself, by yourself, guys. But I want you to do this. First, identify an influential person. Identify one person who had, knowingly or unknowingly, a positive influence on your life. These are the qualities you must admire. What are the qualities you admire in this person? What qualities did you gain from this person? Next, define who you want to become. Imagine it's 20 years in the future. You have achieved all you ever hoped to achieve. What is your list of accomplishments? What do you want to have, do, and be? Number 3, determine what is important to you today. What are the 10 things that are most rewarding to you today? What do you live for and love in life? And when you determine what's important today, remember, guys, our kids aren't here. Our kids aren't here forever. You get 18 summers with them. That's it. So, in 10 years, I know in my kids my youngest is in 5th grade, so 7 more years, 8 more years, and then he's on his own. So I need to make the most of those 7, 8 years. Okay, so those are the questions you're going to ask. And then it tells you to take a breather, go away, gather your thoughts, and then write a rough draft. Right, and this is, remember, guys, this is your mission, your personal mission statement. Who are you? Who do you want to be like? And how are you going to get there? Okay. All right. And then lastly, it talked about your roles and your goals. So within the workbook, it tells you, you want to identify all your roles. Sample with some, you could be an artist, a caregiver, a companion, a director, an engineer, an energizer, a friend, a grandparent, an inventor, a trainer, a teacher, a volunteer, a writer. What's your role? And then write a statement of optimal performance in that role. And then lastly, they talked about the goals, long-range goals, short-term goals. So I'll let you guys do that on your own. It has a great goal planning. Okay. You guys ever notice that success leaves clues? Like you'll read books and you'll hear the same thing over and over again. This, what we just went over, identify an influential person, define who you want to become. This is right out of Traction. Like Traction took this and they just tweaked it and made it for your business instead. Like this is it. Like when you're looking at your core values, this is exactly what they do. So this is the foundation, guys. All right, let's go to chapter 3, habit 3. Put first things first. All right, time management is life management. Put your life priorities first. Habit 3 is about prioritization. If you follow the steps of habit 1 and 2, then you have your values and life goals very clear. That means you know what your priorities are and what they are not. Basically, your first and major prioritization is going through and filter your life goals. Burning desire equals bedrock of prioritization. Before we move forward, I will offer you guys my 80-20 list. So many of us are just busy, right? But we don't really know what we're doing. So go ahead and leave a note or ask Maya, and we'll send you a copy. So I wish I had a copy of it. I might actually. I'm not at my office, so it is my 80-20. And what it is I track every single day. Every weekday I track. I don't do it when I'm at home, but when I'm at work, I do. So the first part is your calendar. It's your daily. So every half hour I have on my sheet, and I track every single thing that I do. This is the prioritization, right? Am I doing the important stuff or am I doing the easy stuff? And so I do that. Secondly, I write down my to-do list there. So anytime something pops in my head, or actually what I typically do is I'll roll through all my text messages, I'll go through all my emails, and I'll just write everything down. Boom, boom, boom. This is my to-do list. Lastly, anytime I do anything, if it's not on the to-do list, I put it in the third column, and that's my done list, okay? And then you got to rank them. Are you doing things that are important? Can somebody else be doing that? Who needs to be doing that? So if you want that sheet, let me know and I'll send that to you. It's nothing special. It's a spreadsheet. I mean, you can make your own, probably make it better, but paying attention and prioritizing the things in your lives will help you get better and higher level things done. Next, put first things first. Talking about the time quadrant. To effectively manage your time, you should spend most of your time on non-urgent and important tasks. We react to urgent matters, right? We're not proactive, we're reactive to urgent matters. We spend our time doing things that are not important. That means we neglect quadrant 2, which is actually the most crucial of them all. If we focus on quadrant 1 and spend our time managing crises and problems, it keeps getting bigger and bigger until it consumes us. This leads to stress, burnout, and constantly putting out fires. So you can see number 1 is firefighting. It's important and it's urgent. This is your crisis, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects. Number 2 is your quality time. Prevention, capability improvement, relationship building, recognizing new opportunities, planning, recreation. This is a lot of your visionary items, right? Not important. So distraction, interruptions, some callers, some mail, some reports, some meeting, proximate pressing matters. This is, guys, this is your busy work. This is what most people do, and it's such time waste. You know, they think they're busy. I worked all day. I did this, and that, but really it was just a distraction. And number 4 is the worst one of all, time wasters, trivial busy work, some mail, phone calls, time wasters, things that you can just, Facebook, right? And when you do your calendar, write down, I was on Facebook from this time to this time. You would be amazed. If you have an iPhone, you can go and set it so they will record and not record, but they will track the time. I challenge you all to do that. How much time are you spending on social media? And what are you doing on social media? I built my business on social media, so I'm not going to get off of it because that's how I find deals, money, opportunities. That's how I build networks. But I can spend my time doing that, or I can spend my time arguing over dumb shit, which I do too much of.
A pro tip for social media: move your app to like the last page on your phone, so it's hard to get to.
There you go. That's a good one. Okay. If we focus on quadrant 3, we spend most of our time reacting to matters that seem urgent, when the reality is their perceived urgency is based on the priorities and expectations of others. This leads to short-term focus, feeling out of control, and shallow or broken relationships. Focus in quadrant 4, we're basically leading an irresponsible life. This often leads to getting fired from jobs and being highly dependent on others. Quadrant 2 is at the heart of the effective personal management. In order to focus our time in quadrant 2, we need to learn to say no to other activities, sometimes ones that seem urgent. We also need to be able to delegate effectively. Let's see. Plus, when we focus on quadrant 2, this helps us implement the Pareto principle. 80% of your results come from 20% of your time. 80-20, guys, you got to learn it. And another thing, which we're going to start working on, is taking the 80% off. You know, when you have people who work for you, you want to take their 80% off as well. You want all your people focusing on their 20% if possible. Key lessons, some ways you can practice putting first things first. Number 1, identify a quadrant 2 activity you've been neglecting. Write it down and commit to implementing it. Number 2, create your own time management matrix to start prioritizing. You guys can use mine if you want. Number 3, estimate how much time you spend in each quadrant, then log your time over 3 days. How accurate was your estimate? How much time did you spend in quadrant 2? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my sheet and all the things that I do, my done list. I'm going to track all those. I'm going to chart them, and I'll let you guys know where I'm at. Okay. You can exit out of that for now. What time is it, guys? I don't have my clock in front of me.
About 8 minutes to 11.
Perfect. Okay, habit 2. So checking your vision. It's time for a personal vision checkup. Take a minute and think about each question below. What am I doing right now with my life? Does it make me happy? Do I feel fulfilled? What do I keep gravitating towards? Hold on, didn't we do this? I guess we did this in the chart. So let me, actually, no, we already did this. Losing my mind. Habit 3, here we go. Actually, let's do a quick assessment. So I want everybody to get a pencil or a pen. And on a scale of 1 to 6, number 1, you strongly agree. Number 6, number 1, you strongly disagree. All the way up to number 6, you strongly agree. With 3 and 4 being slightly disagree and slightly agree. So here's your middle point. Number 1, I spend much of my time on important activities that demand my immediate attention, such as crisis, pressing problems, and deadline-driven projects. Number 2, I feel I am always putting out fires and working in a crisis mode. Number 3, I feel as if I waste a lot of time. Number 4, I spend much of my time on activities that have little relevance to my top priorities, but demand my immediate attention. Example, needless interruptions, unimportant meetings, non-critical phone calls, and email. Number 5, I spend much of my time on activities that are important but not urgent, such as planning, prepping, prevention, relationship building, and self-renewal. Number 6, I spend much of my time on busy work, compulsive habits, junk mail, excessive TV, internet, trivia games, etc. Number 7, I feel I am on top of things because of careful preparation, planning, and prevention. Number 8, I feel I am constantly addressing issues that are not important to others, but not to me. Okay. All right, so for each quadrant, so now draw a box with your 4 quadrants and fill up in the area of each quadrant to the number that corresponds to the total. So, I know it's hard to. So basically it has, if you see that, it has 12 to 1 and then 1 to 12. Right? So that's where you want to track it. So from the left side, it goes 12 to 1 in the middle line, and then from the middle line out, it goes from 1 to 12, okay? So write down your totals for question 1 and question 2. For me, it's 5 and a 4 for a total of 9. So my total is 6, so that's where I'm going to put, that's where you're going to mark your first corner, okay? So for mine, it's 9, so I'm going to go there. Next, questions 4 and 8. So for me, it's 3 and 5 for a total of 8. Okay. For the next one, for the upper right, for the upper right quadrant right here, what was your total for question 5 and question 7? For me, it's 4 and 4. So it's 8. Okay. And then for the last one, question 3 and question 3. So add it up twice, 4 and 4 for me. So that's another 8. I'm 8s all the way around. So that's going to show you where you're spending most of your time. So for me, I'm in quadrant 1 the most, and then I'm evenly distributed with quadrants 2 through 4. So that tells me I have a lot of work to do. Were you guys able to do this? What did you guys come up with? What quadrants were you high in? What quadrants were you low in?
This is primarily coming from the workbook, right? Like the extra exercises.
Yeah, this is right out of the workbook.
Okay.
If you guys had to guess on this, where do you think most of your time? Are you guys spending time in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, or are you down in quadrant 4 doing a whole bunch of dumb stuff? What do you think?
I'd say I'm spending too much time in quadrant 4.
The unimportant. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I'm in
My
3.
workers, my employees are, feel free to answer honestly. You were saying number 3, Angel?
Yeah.
Okay. Something that's good to be aware of. Does anybody else think they're doing well? Is anybody else in quadrant 2? Are you working on the important things that are not urgent? Meaning you are being proactive, you're planning. Does anybody have a weekly meeting, a weekly planning session?
Working on this.
No worries, no worries. So we've recently implemented. Go ahead, Ty.
I was gonna say I'm 3. I get a lot of distractions, especially with family because I work from home. So family stuff happening, which isn't bad, but it's not always what I want to be doing.
Right. Time blocking can be great, where you get rid of your phone and have a few tasks and no distractions at all, which can be tough when you're at home. That's for sure. All right. So what do you guys think about this first section, these first 2 sections? Good stuff?
Yeah, it's it was a lot of things to read, so I'm probably gonna have to go over it again just to grasp some of the other concepts. I mean, overall, it's a it's a great book. I need to make sure that I'm understanding everything.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's a lot. I didn't have the book with me when I assigned, so I didn't know that was going to be like half the book. Probably should have cut that in half, but it's okay. So one great resource I would tell you guys for this particular book, there's a lot of great explainer videos, and like literally there's like 30 of them on YouTube. So if you want to learn a little bit more about it, they just do brief overviews, but there's a lot of really good ones. And actually, Covey has several videos where he actually goes into depth in them. So there's a lot of different resources to do this. So what we are reading next. So next week is not going to be as difficult. We are going to go over part 3, which is habits 4, 5, and 6. It's about 100 in my book, it's about 120 pages. The original doesn't have all the extra stuff. So that is what we are going to read for next week. Please go over some of the exercises and really think about where we're at, what we do, and goal setting. There's a great goal setting thing in there. So let's implement and discuss next week. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Hey, Chris, FYI, there's another book just on this one habit alone.
First things first.
First things first. Right?
Yep.
Question for you guys. How do you guys feel about Audible versus the book? Is the book more effective than the audio version of some of these books?
I do use both.
Use both.
You can listen in your car, and then you can write down like the notes on the book.
I'd say
Yeah.
for having the tables, like the tables and the charts, it's good to have how he laid them out. But other than that, I mean, it's up to you essentially.
Yeah, however you prefer to consume, I would say is the best way, because the first part is just get it done, but you certainly aren't typically going to absorb as much listening. Especially like me, I listen in my car every day, and I love listening to books, but I definitely miss a lot of stuff. You get distracted and your mind wanders a little bit. To really dig into these books, since I've been teaching them, I do both. So I listen to it, and then I follow it with my inside the book, so I can mark comments. But there's definitely ways to put like a bookmarker in Audible as well, so you can go back and re-listen to things. So yeah, that's what I prefer. That's what helps me really digest. And I'm reading so fast, super fast, as Jim Quick would say. I'm a super fast reader now. If you guys haven't read Limitless, definitely check that out. And the speed reading course has been awesome. I've probably tripled my reading speed since I read that. So good stuff. Anybody got anything else?
Pro Trip Library offers an app called Overdrive, where you can borrow the book on audio for free.
There you go. You can find most of our books in PDF form as well. Again, proactive versus reactive. Oh, I can't afford a book. Well, go find it for free. All right, guys. Thanks for showing up. I will see all of you next week. Pat, I'll be in Cleveland next week. We should hook
Oh
up.
yeah,
And,
cool. Let's
yeah,
hang out.
Yeah, we're
Let's grab
coming in
dinner
the
or something.
23rd. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be there the night of the 23rd and we leave the 27th. So we got 3 good days.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let me know. Be great.
You got it. So I'll be doing the next weeks from Cleveland, Ohio. So thanks for showing up, everybody. I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you next week. So read section 3.
All right. Thank you. Later, fellas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. So did we
Thanks.
stop recording?